Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at theDove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and today we have a very special guest. We're delighted to have with us Ryan Mauro. He is the National Security Analysis for ClarionProject.org, which produces hit films like Obsession and The Third Jihad and others. Perhaps you've seen him on some of the major news networks, Fox News Channel and others. He's a contributor there as well. And we want to talk to him today about a lot of things, but in particular, Secretary Hagel's resignation and just how safe America really is. Hi, Ryan. Good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Well, first of all, what did you think of Hagel's resignation? Was he forced out?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And you can tell just by the leaks that were going on that he was just deemed to be very ineffective, particularly from a bureaucratic standpoint. They said that President Obama just wasn't impressed at meetings with him, and he really never made it into the inner circle of trust at the White House.
You know, that is, I keep hearing that statement. That is scary when the Secretary of Defense isn't in the inner circle. So where was he?
I know. That's a pretty senior position. So he should be right there. But at the same time, I'm not hearing a lot of pushback from Washington where anyone's saying, no, Hagel was right. He was great. This is horrible. So that tells you something, because Washington's a gossipy place. So if no one's defending him, then he didn't do a good job.
Well, that's got to be ultra frustrating. I mean, here you are, Secretary of Defense, and you're not part of the inner circle. So do you really know what's going on?
Well, they're all going off of the same information. Apparently what he would do is he'd be very quiet at meetings, and then if he wanted to express his opinion to President Obama, he'd pull him off to the side and then express it there. He just wasn't seen as proactive based on what we're hearing. But I hope that his replacement is an expert and not just a typical political appointee, someone who really understands counterinsurgency, the radical Islamic ideology, working with foreign forces. We don't just want to promote the next person in line at the Department of Defense.
Well, now, he was elected, or at least got confirmed, with one of the narrowest margins in history. So he really didn't go in with a lot of support. But on the other hand, some said he kind of grew into the job. He realized terrorism was much more of a threat than Obama does. But since there is no real strategy in place, he was frustrated.
I've heard that, but what you're not getting from the leaks is what strategy did he advocate. And so I could see why President Obama, if he's seeing those leaks in the newspaper, would get frustrated, because if he's not raising it aggressively at the meetings, then how's the president and the other staff supposed to know exactly what's going on? So who knows exactly what the truth is? We do know that Hagel criticized the policy in terms of Syria. We know that apparently he got into a little bit of trouble when he talked about ISIS being an imminent threat to American interests everywhere, which was rhetoric higher than what the president wanted to go with.
Very interesting. All right. Given the situation, any idea who may be floating in the way of a name to replace him?
There's some other names going up about like an undersecretary of defense. But for me, they're all the same. I just want an expert in counterinsurgency. I don't want to just pick someone who's an effective bureaucrat. Pick someone like call up General Petraeus and ask him to recommend someone, and then just go with that. That's what I feel like would be the best way forward.
That would be wonderful. All right, tell us about CAIR, what's the Council on American Islamic Relations. Really, tell us about it. Are they a terrorist organization?
If you believe that the Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization, which Hamas is a member of, then yes, they are. What Americans need to know, and especially Christians, is that the Council on American Islamic Relations parades as this moderate group. They put their spokespeople up in the media. They hold events with churches sometimes. And what they are is basically a political advocacy group. They say that they just want to stop anti-Muslim bigotry, but there's a political agenda here, and it's to obviously bash Israel. It's to influence American foreign policy, and they are connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, and specifically to what's called the Palestine Committee, which was established by Hamas. So they were created by the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas, and that's why the United Arab Emirates, a Muslim Arab country, designated them as a terrorist group.
Wow. All right, so what's their ultimate goal in the U.S.? To neutralize us?
For now, it's to neutralize our policy. The FBI wiretapped a secret meeting of Brotherhood and Hamas leaders, which two CAIR founders attended in 1993 in Philadelphia. And what they were heard discussing was how to mislead and deceive the public in order to support the Brotherhood Hamas agenda. And they explicitly said what they want to do is influence policy. So you won't see CAIR taking pictures of themselves as they pass a check to Hamas. There were other groups that were doing that. What CAIR's creation was for waging a battle in public opinion and in the media.
It appears that the president's policy as it relates to Israel and maybe even CAIR's influence is working. I don't see this president supporting Israel at any good level. And so I don't know if CAIR is having an impact there, but it appears that it is.
More importantly, I think CAIR is having an impact in terms of the media coverage, especially when they slander folks that criticize them. And by the way, they don't really call folks like myself Islamophobes. They call Muslims that criticize them as Islamophobes. It's really ridiculous, but that's what they do to delegitimize people. As for Israel, the president obviously has been very, very critical of Israel at certain points. But then also he has funded the Iron Dome system that intercepts the rockets. He did defend Israel's right to defend itself when it was fighting with Hamas. He opposed the ground offensive into Gaza. So I don't think it's very clearly black and white, but obviously in terms of support for Israel, it leaves much wanting.
So Ryan, where do you think this is going? It sounds to be a whole lot more than what we're believing it to be.
Well, basically, the fundamental issue here is that the United Arab Emirates and other countries in the Middle East view the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist group because they're focusing on the ideology. They say we're not just concerned with those that pick up a gun and kill someone. We're interested in those that finance that, those that incite it. The overall ideological network is what creates terror. And so the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, ironically, and Egypt have banned the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist group, but the UAE went a step further. What they wanted to do was call out some of the major Brotherhood affiliates in Europe and in the United States to drive the point home that this isn't just about the Middle East, that the Brotherhood has affiliates influencing policy in the West, and they wanted to delegitimize them. So it's a very dramatic move. And by the way, CAIR has gotten donations from the UAE. They've met with their officials. So you can't say that the UAE has had this long-term hostility towards CAIR. It's just that they came to the realization that we have a problem on our hands, and CAIR is part of that problem.
Wow. All right. So in light of that, how secure do you think we are? Do you think we are secure in America? Right now, I think it's number one now in a lot of people's mind. I think you have the economy, and then the next one is national security. And now with the change at the Defense Department, are we in a pretty vulnerable state?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we are safer since 9/11 because of some of the changes that were made. And Americans are just more aware of the threat. And al-Qaeda has been hurt very much so. But the threat is still definitely there. And if you look at the trends, they're not looking too good for us. And that's because since 2010, you've had the number of al-Qaeda type terrorists at least double. According to a study, you've had the number of al-Qaeda type groups since 2001. At least double. The number of people killed by terrorism worldwide is skyrocketing. So is the number of individual attacks. So you look at all of the data, and it becomes clear that there's a very negative trend happening. But there's also a positive trend. So that really is comforting, which is that there is a backlash in the Muslim world against specific groups like Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, Hezbollah, and al-Qaeda. Unfortunately, I don't feel that we're harnessing that movement. But the overthrow of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt by millions of Muslims and Christians coming together, for example, was a tremendous opportunity for us that we failed to seize upon.
Yeah, that's one of the most alarming parts. Do you think, what could we do to support the Kurds more?
Well, they're asking for humanitarian aid and guns. And the Kurds are a rare group in the Middle East that we can trust. Yes, there are some radical elements among them. There is a terrorist group called the PKK among them. But by and large, when you see these death to Israel, death to America rallies across the region, you don't see the Kurds involved in that much. You don't see that crossing over into the Kurdish areas. In fact, they're not only pro-American, they are proudly pro-American. And what Kurdish leaders will actually say publicly is that we practice a moderate version of Islam. We want to welcome Christians to live with us. We don't want anything to do with a caliphate. And privately, Kurds won't say this publicly, they just want peace. They're not interested in waging a jihad against Israel. They want peace. They want to have a better life for everyone in the region. And it's very sad to see when we have such an ally deliver to us and so enthusiastic about our cooperation, them feeling incredibly let down.
Wow. Well, Ryan, thanks for the work that you do. Any more films coming out? What are you working on?
The latest film that came out, which we were a part of with the coalition, is called Honor Diaries, which is all about the plight of women in Muslim-majority societies.
Wow.
I also recommend that people go to clarionproject.org, sign up for our weekly newsletter so that we can bring you deeper into this content than what you get in the 3-minute news segments, because you'll be shocked to see what we write about.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Blessings on you. Again, that's clarionproject.org if you need to get more information on that, clarionproject.org. Thanks, my friend. Look forward to having you back again.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless. All right, we'll be right back.